How 20 Philippine Marines defeated 200 MILF rebels. Chapter 1. The First Contact. 20 Marines walked into the dense, humid jungle of Mindanao. By nightfall, they were surrounded by 200 enemy fighters in a battle for their lives. April 3, 2000. Sitio Ilian, Causwagan, Lanao del Norte. The heat was stifling, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying vegetation. This was the height of the government's military offensive against insurgent groups, a time of extreme tension across the southern Philippines. Corporal Lawrence Narag Sr., a 27-year-old radio man for the 61st Marine Company Force Reconnaissance Battalion, adjusted the heavy straps of his gear. The weight of the PRC-77 radio on his back was a constant reminder of his responsibility. He was the lifeline of the unit. The mission was specific, confirmed reports of a massive enemy presence. Weeks earlier, hundreds of MILF fighters had descended upon nearby towns, seizing hostages and constructing a sophisticated network of fortified positions and foxholes across these jagged hills. Narag raised a clenched fist. Behind him, the patrol froze instantly. There was a subtle movement ahead. It wasn't the wind, and it wasn't an animal. It was the distinct, rhythmic rustle of human activity. A shadow shifted behind a thick coconut tree, then another appeared further down the slope. Narag lowered his center of gravity, pressing his chest into the humid soil. "Contact possible. Front," he whispered into his headset. The Marines executed a well-rehearsed tactical spread, seeking cover behind thick trunks and shallow depressions in the earth. The silence was deafening. Then a single high-velocity shot cracked through the canopy, snapping Narag's radio antenna like a twig. In an instant, the jungle erupted. Heavy gunfire poured in from the front, the left flank, and the rear. They were not just encountering a patrol, they had walked directly into a meticulously prepared kill zone. They expected resistance, but they had entered the very heart of an enemy stronghold. Narag rolled onto his side, ignoring the dirt in his mouth, and pressed the handset to his ear. Static filled his head. He feverishly switched frequencies, his fingers working by muscle memory. "Troops in contact, multiple enemy, over." A hail of automatic fire struck the ground inches from his elbow, kicking up clumps of mud. Around him, the 19 other Marines responded with discipline, returning fire in short, measured bursts. Every bullet had to count. Later intelligence reports would confirm they were facing 200 seasoned fighters occupying a sophisticated defensive camp complete with overhead cover and snipers. 20 Marines were now caught in a circle of fire. Chapter 2. The Encirclement tightens. The volume of fire increased as the enemy realized how small the Marine unit actually was. The initial short bursts from the rebels shifted into sustained, suppressive fire. They were closing the distance, tightening the noose. Narag checked his radio again. The signal was weak and flickering due to the broken antenna and the dense foliage. He made a life-or-death decision to raise the remaining stub of the antenna higher, exposing his arm and shoulder to the whistling lead. He knew with absolute certainty that without communication to the outside world, they would be overrun within the hour. To his right, a Marine rifleman fired 3 precise shots to keep an enemy head down, then ducked to reload. The rebels held the high ground, looking down into the Marines' positions. "Grid confirmed. Enemy fortified. Request immediate fire support," Narag shouted over the roar of the M16s. A sudden burst of heavy machine gun fire shredded the tree bark above him, raining jagged wood fragments onto his helmet. Narag realized the terrain was blocking his signal. He began to crawl forward, 10, then 15 meters across a patch of exposed grass, searching for a gap in the trees to reach a satellite or a relay station. "Stay down," a fellow Marine hissed through the noise. Narag didn't stop. He reached a shallow depression and keyed the mic again. "Air support, this is ground. We are pinned, requesting immediate strike on my mark." As he shouted the coordinates, a sniper's round found its mark. The impact spun Narag's body.
He felt a hot, searing pain as blood began to soak through his camouflage uniform. Despite the shock, he pulled the radio closer to his chest, his voice straining. "Contact active. Adjusting grid coordinates. Do not miss." Corporal Ernesto Layaguin, the unit's hospital corps man, saw Narag go down. Without hesitation, Layaguin began a desperate crawl through the crossfire. He didn't look for safety, he looked for his friend. Layaguin reached Narag and immediately threw his own body over the radio man, acting as human armor. A second sniper shot rang out, and Layaguin's body jerked violently as he took a hit meant for Narag. He didn't flinch. He remained draped over the radio man, protecting the communication link with his very life. High above the clouds, a Philippine Air Force OV-100 Bronco attack plane received the desperate transmission. The pilot banked hard towards the coordinates. It was minutes away, but for the men on the ground, those minutes felt like hours. Chapter 3: The Airstrike. The radio went silent for a moment as Narag fought to stay conscious. Then a low, rhythmic vibration began to hum through the ground, growing into a deafening roar that drowned out the small arms fire. Narag's breathing was ragged and shallow. His vision was blurring from blood loss, but he kept his eyes locked on the tree line where the enemy was most concentrated. "This is ground. The mark is active. Hit the tree line." The OV-100 Bronco tore through the haze, its twin engines screaming as it banked low over the valley. On the ground, the Marines buried their faces in the dirt, covering their heads. The MILF fighters, realizing the danger from the sky, redoubled their efforts, pouring every ounce of firepower they had toward the Marines, hoping to finish them before the bombs fell. "Target confirmed," Narag whispered into the handset one last time.
The first heavy bomb detached from the wing. There was a terrifying, high-pitched whistle, followed by a world-shaking impact. The explosion was massive, sending a shockwave through the forest that knocked the wind out of everyone. A wall of fire, earth, and shattered timber rose where the enemy bunkers had been. The pilot didn't wait. He circled for a second pass, coming in even lower. Another pair of explosions ripped through the rebel trench line, turning the organized ambush into a scene of total chaos. The enemy's coordination was shattered. The constant roar of their guns slowed to a crawl and then stopped altogether. The Marines, sensing the shift in momentum, didn't stay down. They pushed outward, advancing through the smoke. They reached the first line of rebel trenches and found them decimated, with discarded weapons and supplies scattered in the blackened dirt. Narag remained propped against the earth, his physical strength almost gone. Layaguin remained at his side, refusing to seek cover for himself even after being wounded. The Bronco made a final low-level pass, a symbolic guardian in the sky, before fading into the distance. The overwhelming force that had surrounded them just an hour before had vanished back into the deep jungle. Chapter 4: The Cost of Survival. The roar of the engines faded, and a heavy, eerie silence returned to the jungle. The 10-hour ordeal was finally drawing to a close. The Marines had held their ground. Corporal Narag was leaning against a shattered tree, his hands still clutching the radio handset. Throughout the most intense moments of the battle, he had completely disregarded his own life to ensure the coordinates were precise. His commanding officer would later write in his official report that Narag's bravery was the single factor that allowed the air support to be effective. He had moved closer to the enemy, alone and exposed, to make sure the pilots saw the target. Beside him, Corporal Layaguin lay still. His uniform was stained with the blood of his sacrifice. He had chosen to be a shield, a selfless act that kept the radio and the unit's hope alive. The sound of a different engine appeared, the rhythmic thumping of a medevac helicopter. It hovered over a small, narrow clearing as the blades created a localized hurricane of dust, leaves, and debris. The surviving Marines worked quickly, their faces etched with exhaustion and grief. They secured Narag onto a stretcher, his eyes still flickering with awareness, watching his brothers in arms. He had led them through the impossible, but the toll of the victory was heavy. All 20 Marines were accounted for, but the scars of CTO Ilian would remain with them forever. Chapter 5: Aftermath and Legacy. As the sun began to set over Lanao del Norte, the smoke finally cleared from the hills of CTO Ilian. The impossible had been achieved. 20 Philippine Marines had successfully defended their position and routed an enemy 10 times their size. The cost, however, was devastating. Corporal Lawrence Narag Sr. and Corporal Ernesto Layagian succumbed to their injuries. They had given everything so that their fellow Marines could return home. The airstrike they coordinated had not only broken the ambush, but it resulted in the deaths of approximately 40 rebels and the total destruction of a major insurgent base. Their story did not end in the jungle. It became a legendary chapter in the history of the Philippine Marine Corps. For their conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of their lives, both Narag and Layagian were posthumously awarded the Medal of Valor, the highest military decoration the Philippines can bestow. Their names are now spoken with reverence in the halls of the Marine headquarters, serving as a reminder of what it means to be always faithful. In 2024, the Philippine Navy honored this legacy by commissioning a state-of-the-art fast-attack interdiction craft, naming it the BRP Lawrence Narag PG-907. This vessel now patrols the nation's waters, carrying the name of a man who refused to be silenced by the enemy. These were more than just soldiers. They were sons, fathers, and brothers who stood firm when the odds were stacked against them. Their courage was not the absence of fear, but the realization that their duty to the man next to them was more important than their own survival. If the story of these 20 Marines and the sacrifice of Narag and Layagian moved you, please take a moment to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. We must continue to tell these stories so that the bravery of our soldiers is never forgotten. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to join us as we explore more incredible moments of Philippine military history and the heroes who shaped our nation. The jungle of Kauswagan is quiet today, but the echo of the radio and the courage of the 20 will forever be a part of the land. Thank you for watching, and thank you for helping us honor the fallen. Supporting this channel helps us produce more high-quality historical content. We will see you in the next chapter of our history. My heartfelt gratitude to you for subscribing to our channel, the Knowledge Vault Center, and for liking and commenting to our video. Good luck, and God bless. Stay safe.